Chris, what's going on? How are you, man?
How you doing, Jimmy?
Yeah, welcome back to part 2, right? Let's talk about it, right?
It's been almost, what, 2 years?
2 years
since I
now,
said
right?
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2 years, you've tripled your business. You've been part of Circle of Excellence.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about that a little bit, man.
Well, let's talk about it, Circle of Excellence. When I first started, had no idea what that was.
Right.
And when the year end came, I was short by, like, let's say 2 transactions of a bronze status.
Right.
So that's like 15 million, 15 transactions.
15
I don't want to say like
okay.
6.5 million I forget the numbers.
Right.
But it's a first level Circle of Excellence. What does it mean to a consumer?
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
Yeah, it means that I've done 15 transactions
Right.
in 1 year.
Exactly what it means, right?
Yeah. But it could also say things to other real estate agents that you work with.
Right.
Or let's
I'm
say,
the shit.
yeah. or you can trust me because
Right.
I've done enough transactions.
Right.
You know, especially when you're bidding on houses.
Right.
We're in a buyer's market right now.
Right.
And it's crazy. You know, you're bidding on houses and you're not winning.
Mm-hmm.
What separates you from the other 15 offers submitted on a house? Maybe the listing agent saying, hey, this guy's a X amount of years of experience, 7 years experience.
Right.
This guy's a broker. He has a Circle of Excellence on his email. That might mean something to an agent that's...
Small things
Yeah.
mean a lot, especially when listing a house, because you don't want that deal to go the opposite direction,
Yeah.
right?
But, you know, I don't use that to sell myself. It's
Right.
there. You know, Circle of Excellence for X amount of years. It's just one of those few things that gives me the competitive advantage.
I love it. Well, it's why you continue to grow.
Yeah.
And I see you doing a lot more on social media. So to my point, what has kept you consistent with that platform when it comes to social media, man?
You know, there's a lot of different platforms. You got
Right.
Instagram, you got Facebook, you
Right.
got YouTube, you got LinkedIn.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not very good at LinkedIn. I'm not very good at YouTube.
Right.
I'm looking at the views. I'm like, I'm not getting much views.
Right.
So I tried to stay away from those platforms. And this year I made it an effort to get back into, you know, posting videos on those platforms.
Right.
Because I stay primarily on Instagram.
Right.
And
That's how I met you.
yeah.
Right.
I was like, this guy watches my videos. Wow.
right.
And for you to even know that my content, I'm like, impressive. He actually listens. Not only does he just, you know, like every single video and picture that I post, but he actually listens to the content I'm putting out there. So,
Well, it's important, right? Because of the fact that I need to know who I'm going to partner with. If I don't know who you are, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
We're just going to be clapping hands and high-fiving. Like, the world does continue to rotate, but our clients, when they come to us, they're looking for trust. They're looking for comfort. They're looking to be at ease with everything with that major transaction. And I need to know that if we're working on a client together, which we have done many times, I'm sitting there, I'm saying, I know where Chris is going with this direction. Let me just make sure the client is comfortable so they have no other questions for you. So that's why it was important for me
Yeah.
to know everything about you before building the bridge that we have today.
well, I think the fact that you knew so much about me
Right.
sold me to be comfortable in trusting you
Right. Thank you.
in giving you business.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. So I know you do a lot of comical things on Instagram, but now you're focusing on the detail part of it, right?
Yeah.
When the inception part of the purchase process or listing process, have you found enjoyment in that? Because sometimes, you know, you're making these videos like, is this one person gonna like it? Is this one person gonna view it?
Yeah.
Does this penetrate? What has made you comfortable going this direction now?
It never makes me comfortable. I'm always looking for the best value I can put out there.
Okay.
Yeah, every video I put out there, I think it's valuable.
Right.
Sometimes it's not, you know. Sometimes I think, you know, things that happen in life, I want to put out there.
Right.
You know, things that people are uncomfortable talking about, I put out there.
Right.
You know, you mentioned comic. I'm not a very funny guy, but I do enjoy humor.
Right.
So like I see a lot of other realtors putting their persona out there,
Right.
which is funny. That's not me. But
I've seen a couple of some funny ones with you.
I like to create videos, and I like to relate to TV shows.
Right. That's
movies.
what I meant by funny, right?
Yeah.
Because you meant like
Yeah.
you seen that stunt like, what was the video? I forgot which one was it. Office Space, not Office Space. Which one was it? I forgot one of them that you had, and it was like sense of humor, and that was comical at the
Yeah.
time, right? And then you talked about, I think, of the video correlating to what can happen if
Yes.
you wait. I forgot the movie the clip that you used, but that was comical.
I use a lot of clips like that because I try to use clips from and transition or relate to those situations. You know, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's an old movie. It's The Money Pit with Tom Hanks and Shelley Long.
Right.
I use a lot of clips from that. I see other agents use clips from that, and it just relates to like buying a house and like things falling apart.
Okay.
You know, so
Right.
So those are
and
things
that's
I
the
like to do.
truth, right?
Yeah.
It does happen, right?
Yeah, as much as you cover in a home inspection, things are always going to fall apart.
Right.
Some of the later videos I do, which has gained a lot of traction, are home renovations or home improvements. You know, I did a thing. I didn't know what I was doing with it. I was cutting a root out of the lawn,
Right.
and I'm like, this is valuable. It's got value to it.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't see it. But it took me 3 months to figure out what I can do with it. And then it got like over 1,000 views in like a matter of days. I was just like, well, what do people want to watch? I don't
Right.
get it, you know?
Well, the thing is, we talk that language every day
Yeah.
amongst ourselves. So to us, we're not, I don't know if it's going to work, but it's the most craziest things that you do not think is going to go viral is the one that goes viral
Yeah.
because it's in someone's mind. It's like, that does happen. That can happen. And in that context, you put, this is why you should trust me when it comes to
Yeah.
either buying or listing your home, right? So that, I mean, look, it like sometimes I put out videos like, yo, man, I aced it, man. I showed my good side. Everything is good, right? I'm letting it go. But like, this is it. And I get like blank views. I'm getting like, oh man, really? Like I was supposed to get at least 300. But then I realize, is it because of the views or is it because of me? When I understood it's not about the views, it's about who you are as a human being when you're putting stuff out there, right? Because ultimately, your social media platform is your ad. You just got to make sure you're comfortable putting an ad out there and letting people come see it, right? So
Yeah.
there are days you look at it, you're like, I didn't get this view, I didn't get that. But then you're like, you know what? At the end of the day, it was me. I mean, like that's what it is. And like you said, the dumbest things may go viral. And we've seen that happen. But at the end of the day, viral doesn't mean you're going to make money from it either, right?
Yeah.
It just means it's just exactly what it did. It went viral. More or less, it's like you're providing value because ultimately one's looking for shelter and they need to take steps, and going onto your page provides that.
Yeah.
So that's the key to it when it comes to putting stuff out there like that, man.
Yeah, I try to put in at least a 1 minute video daily.
Right. I've seen that.
And, I want to put it out there because, like, long story short, like, nobody wants to watch a 2-hour video of me talking.
Nah.
So I cut it up and, some of the content gets a lot of views. Like, for example, I talk about why choosing the right attorney is important. What is title insurance? Like, this is like boring, dull stuff.
Right.
But like to somebody that's really interested in buying or learning, they're going to find it valuable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know?
It's one of those things you need to know.
Yeah.
Speaking of need to know, what's going on in today's local markets and the surrounding markets that you
It's funny you bring that up
value
because
profession?
I just did a market analysis. I do one every month,
Right.
and that's part of my content. I'm a little late, a couple of days
That's
for
all right.
for April,
You're raising a family.
but yeah. The funny thing is, I watch this stuff, and the local realtors in my area are going to hate me for saying this, but the trend is downward.
I just had that conversation with somebody else earlier, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
And the prices are there, but like what's happening is, people are paying way over asking price for the list.
right.
So you see that gap starting to diminish. Like 3 months ago, it was like 3% less than last month. So, you calculate 3 months. I didn't do the calculation, but it's like 10% lower than what it used to be.
Right.
So, instead of $100,000 over ask, you're not seeing that as much anymore.
Right.
Some neighborhoods you are. It all depends on the inventory in your immediate area.
Right.
Sometimes I go outside my area and thinking, I'm looking at analyzing the market out there. I'm like, oh, it's only 30,000. So I advise my client to go a little bit more.
Right.
And then before you know it, somebody comes up with a crazy offer and blows us away. So it's like you never know.
No. And to your point, when we say in the market, the price reduction is not significantly like it's going, you're listing a house and it's going down 40, 50%. What we're saying is that we were making offers and they were 30% over ask. Now they're about 5% over ask, right? They're still going a little bit over market value, but the percentage wise of overbidding is not like it was last year, 2, 3, 4 years ago, where sight on scene, it was like, yo, here, I'm paying 50 over ask. I mean, because at some point we have these conversations, right? How much one does need to make or a family need to make to afford to live in certain areas that just has the basic necessities, like a supermarket, a nice house, a decent sized lot. There's just like at some point you just can't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
And if the person selling is like, yeah, I made all this money, but they too will have to pay a high price, right? So
It's where do you go
where
once
do
you
you
sell?
go? Right. So what we're seeing is that it's not cooling off completely, but it's not as crazy as it was last year and 2 years ago. It's gotten a little bit better,
Yeah.
right?
Well, one of the questions you asked me last time I was here was like, when is the right time to buy? It hasn't changed.
No,
since
that
then.
hasn't changed. No,
It's when you're ready.
right.
So I still stick with that. If you're looking at the market, if you're looking at the stock market, if you're looking at the housing market, and you're looking for the right time to buy, you're always going to miss it because you're looking for the best deal. It doesn't exist. If that makes any sense.
No, it doesn't, because you could be buying into someone's pain, or you could be buying someone that is making that much money off of you, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know. It just you have to trust the process,
Yep.
right? The journey is what it is. We just have to acknowledge the fact that ultimately the goal is for you to find shelter. So, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So given the fact that there's, some regulatory changes in the world of you providing value, has that prevented you to do anything? I mean, have you had any setbacks with those new regulatory changes? That's what
There's
I'm
some minor setbacks, but I wouldn't call them setbacks. I would just call them obstacles.
Okay.
It does slow down the process.
Right.
With the crazy market we've been having with, multiple bids, due on 3 days after you listed the house.
Right.
That's crazy, right? So before you would know exactly what you were getting paid.
Right.
Now it's a negotiation. Now you have to have a discussion with your buyer. This is what I'm worth.
Right.
I'm worth 2%. I'm worth 3%, and not all these sellers are paying the commission. So it's happened to me twice, where the seller wasn't willing to pay the commission, but my client really liked the house.
Right.
So my client said, I'm willing to pay. It's worth it to me.
That's your value. Right.
Yeah.
Right. They got value out of you providing them what they needed, which was shelter.
But at the same time, it's tough. You're losing bids, and your client's getting frustrated. They're kind of turned off with the whole process.
Right.
I believe you and I shared a client where we've been looking since, I first had a conversation in August, and they just closed on their house in February this year.
Right.
You know,
That was an interesting story. I was
Yeah.
going to ask you, can you, for those who don't know, can you share that story a little bit, like how that process was?
you
like?
know, it just came out the law in August
Right.
of last year. So that discussion was one of my first discussions with a new client that I didn't know.
Right.
But they trusted me because they heard about me. It was from a parent group in my town,
Right.
and all these agents getting recommended, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother,
Right.
and then all of a sudden they called me and I said, wow, you chose me over all these top producing
Yeah, I remember
agents.
that. Yeah, right, right.
I was like, all right, so I got to do my job,
Right.
and we had a long conversation. I remember the day because it was in Belleville. I told my client I was available.
Right.
We all do that. I had plans with the wife to go to a
Right,
concert, and I'm around the corner so they don't hear the music so loud.
They do the
Consultation
sneaking
call.
things, right? Like consultation, here it is.
And it was the buyer had a lot of questions about what happens if the seller's not going to pay. What happens,
Right.
or what happens if they're only going to sell offer 2% and we have a deal for 2.5%. I'm like, well, we're going to cross that bridge when you get there,
Right.
but you're kind of on the hook for that 0.5%. But you know what? I'm like, I want you to trust me.
Right.
I want you to trust me that I'm not going to screw you over.
Right. Right.
And I said, we signed an agreement beforehand, and they were comfortable after the long discussions we had.
Right.
Turns out that we got them a house where it was irrelevant anyway,
Right.
but there was houses that I showed that didn't offer it, and they're like, I'm going to pay you what you're worth. So it kind of made me feel like, you know what? I'm doing a lot of work
Right.
as a buyer agent. I feel like I could provide a lot more value with the experience. Because when I first started, I was just doing listings.
Right. Right. Right.
To me, listings came easy.
Right.
You put it on the MLS, and you do all your marketing,
Right.
and then you just wait for the offers.
Right.
It was a different time back then.
Was it Foxton's?
it was a little after that. But the amount of work you put in as a buyer agent now, you're putting in offers for multiple properties, waiting for them to get back to you just to get rejected.
Yeah.
We must have put offers like at least six offers before we finally got an accepted. We actually got an accepted offer before that, and we kind of hesitated during attorney review, and then the seller didn't like our hesitation and dropped us.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. Yeah, I remember that conversation. Very much so.
So you go through a lot as a buyer's agent, and it's like, I think I'm worth more than 2%.
Yeah,
I think I'm worth 3%.
I agree.
And because I know the pitfalls, I've been through it all. I want to be able to be comfortable and say, I can get this job done for you.
Right.
Should the opportunity arise when the seller doesn't want to pay, this is what I think I'm worth.
Well, the thing is too, right? Because you're taking time out, you're vetting the other side. You're making sure when you pass that part that they're comfortable with the offer they're going to submit. And then the fact is too that our clients, they're hearing noise. Like, the fear is a big thing, right? And sometimes when you pay that much into something that is supposed to make you feel comfortable, it becomes overwhelming at times, right? There's a lot of questions. There's many things like, if this goes wrong, if this happens. What was important about our client in this situation was the fact that we encouraged the more questions. We love the fact that they went up and down, right and left, ultimately trusted the process because they got what they wanted, which was home ownership, shelter, right? And that's what the story is about, right? It's giving, when did you start? Your ending is the key, but the middle, right? The calls, the 10 o'clock, the doing a new mortgage report for them, finding out the different taxes because we looked in different counties. But then you saying, hey, we need to make a pivot over here because what we're doing over here may not work, but let's try over there.
Yeah.
And you said, look, give me a shot, trust the process, I got you. I felt like that was one of the biggest deals in my life because of the fact that they stuck with us and the changes happened during that time.
Yeah.
And so the hurdles that you had to go over, and then saying like, no one can ever say I get less than, because I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. My less than is probably, we're not a perfect fit then, because you're not appreciating what I can give you at the ultimate day, at the end of the day, right? So to your point, that's why I feel like this was a good story, because we both saw what happened and how you were able to, again, provide what they were always looking for. And because of your skill, because of your circle of excellence, because of the value you put out there, once they typed in Chris Andres, I was like, yo, my man, I like this guy, right? And so that's what it's about, right? I mean, like I said, a lot of us celebrate a lot of wonderful things when it comes to home ownership, but this was a good story, and I thank you for sharing that. Thank you for trusting me with the process. So when you see or you go through these stories, how do you help those that want to work with you on professional growth?
On professional growth for them?
For them, yeah, for them on doing what you do today. Because you've created a template.
Yeah. I haven't even thought about it, but
that's how numb you are to it.
Yeah.
Right? I love it.
I kind of just, it's kind of cliche when people or realtors say, I got into the business because I love helping people, right?
Right.
You hear that all the time.
Right.
And it's like, I don't want to be that guy that says that.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know that I like to do that. I just do it.
Right.
And that's what makes it easier. If that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
If you love what you do, that's another cliche.
Right.
I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing these things. And I don't mind sharing the knowledge, the experience that I've gone through in the past with new clients. Because I don't want any client to go through any of the hardships that some of my previous clients have gone through.
Right.
I've had horror stories where, we didn't think we were going to close. We're not going to sell the house because of all these problems that came up in home inspection. And,
right.
That's the stuff I want to share.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stuff that I want to put out there as value on social media. There was a few videos that I made on real estate nightmares.
Okay.
Because I'm so frustrated with what's happening at that moment. And then I'm like, you know what? I'll make a video.
Right.
Make a video and share it with everybody. It's like, don't let this happen to you.
Oh, man.
And, it started out good, but then it's like, now it's scaring buyers away.
Right. No, don't buy a house because he said that it could happen to you, right? So I guess it's a fine balance, right? To where you can go up to doing this stuff. So, Chris, look, we're both Mets fan. On Mother's Day, he selfishly went to go see a Met game.
My wife is a Met fan too, so it's what she wanted.
Right. So our Amazings are doing very well. I'm very happy that where we were at in the past and how much we've changed by bringing on new players. To that point, how do you manage the work-life balance, Chris?
That's a $1 million question.
Taekwondo, I see you out there with your son wrestling.
You know what?
Woo.
I had the opportunity this year. I coach wrestling.
Right.
That helped my son. I don't know if it helped him, but like me being there.
Yeah, dad is there, man. That's what's up. I love it.
I just want to make a shout out to head coach to our baseball team.
Right.
After wrestling season, he asked me if I wanted to assistant coach, and I'm like, like baseball season's kind of like my relaxing time, just to sit back and relax. But it was like, you know what, I could do this. Spend time with my kid on the diamond, and whenever business comes or I have to do business, there are times where I miss a game. I can't be everywhere at once.
Right.
It's disheartening to him, to me. Like I feel like I'm missing out all the time.
Right.
But
But there's a greater good.
you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
I know you do a lot with your daughters.
Right. Yep.
You were in, don't tell me, Louisiana.
Louisiana. Yeah. Yeah. You just all over, man.
You don't think about it. You just do.
Right.
And I just take it one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody asked me, when are we playing the Elks again? I'm like, I don't even know what we're doing tomorrow. Let's just handle it. Like last week, my son had a baseball game with his club team, and I'm like, I know I got something going on today. I can't drive him. My wife's got something going on, and that was one of the first times we had to figure out, how's my son getting to his baseball game? Mm-hmm. And luckily, we have a great community in the baseball world. That
Right.
specific team, they're very accommodating, very inviting, and you know, we don't live close to the other players,
Right.
and we were just fortunate enough for one of the parents to say, "I'll pick him up," and that's what I like. I like community.
Right.
That goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I do it.
Right.
It's not just me. It's not just my wife. It's the community,
Community. Right.
that pitches in.
That said, community. I know you're a foodie. I'm a foodie.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite restaurant? One or two?
One or two.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with this place in my local town. It's Luna.
Luna. Okay.
I don't know if you asked me this question last time. I hope.
I don't remember. It's been 24 months.
Yeah. But you know, it's this local place in my town. May have done a review. I do a lot of reviews of like local restaurants because me and my wife, we go out every Monday.
Right. You're supporting the community,
Yeah.
and it gives it back to you. So
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And we're always finding something because like the kids don't like everything.
Right.
So they're very picky. So me and my wife like to explore. So we explore throughout the area, and just recently, and I haven't done the video yet.
Right. The video's coming.
The video's coming soon. It was a Greek restaurant,
Right.
which is walking distance from my house.
Okay.
And for the 7 years that I've lived in town, I've never been there, and it was just like didn't blow me away, but it was like I can't believe this has been here for this long, and I've never tried it.
Right. Now
So-
it's a must try.
Yeah.
So on part 3, we'll talk about the Greek restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Let's Talk About It. If one is looking for you, how do they find you? Share your handles, man.
It's Instagram, Chris Andres _real estate. Pretty easy, right?
Right.
Just find me, Chris Andres, on Facebook. You can Google me,
Right.
and it's
That's how that client found you.
Christopher Andres. Yes.
Right.
Parent groups on Facebook. I'm a parent,
Right.
so you can find me there, and that's about it.
I love it.
I'm not going to give my email address or my website. It's you just go online. You'll find me.
You'll find me. Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, again, Chris, I want to thank you for taking the time for coming on Let's Talk About It. And again, man, I appreciate our partnership.
It was a
and
pleasure.
Definitely want to continue to grow.
Likewise.
My man.
Thank you.
Others, if you're looking for Let's Talk About It, type it in on your search bar. Like he said, man, on your favorite streaming platform, I'm there. Let's Talk About It, Jimmy Mortgage. Let's have some fun. And man, let's make it a great day. Have a good one, guys. Hey, listeners, are you looking to improve your home comfort and save on your energy bills? Let's talk about Seal Power. They've been awarded Energy Star Sustained Excellence Award, seen on Good Morning America, the New York Times, and World News. Seal Power is dedicated to keeping your home cozy while saving money. Check out their website for tips and incentives and more at CIELPOWER.com. Stay comfortable and save with Seal Power, where comfort meets efficiency. Follow them on Instagram for updates and more, and let's talk about it as well. Thank you.